Hmm. All right, folks. Welcome. Let me go ahead and fix some things over here. Hope that everybody has been doing well. I know it's been a minute. Life can be hectic. More hectic than I expect sometimes. Let's see. Things are going over here. All right. Hmm. On. That one isn't showing. There we go. We good to go on that one. Fresh. Uh, that one works. One second. Double check that this is the one. Because apparently I have two mm, two two things going live. Mm, goodness, this is gonna be troublesome. Which stream is that one? Yeah, that one is not gonna work out though. So let me end this one. That one is finished, but the other one should still be going though. Yeah, just as I thought. Good. Things should be going better now. Unlike usual, some bots messaging me. Hey, you could use a little hype, buddy. People that I don't even know. Just deny that. All I want to do is just do my recording while I got the time. Time is a luxury, which I don't have often. A luxury. Get the story ready. Hope that everybody is doing well. Got that going over here. And apparently something else is playing on my desktop. And I gotta make sure that it's not being recorded on this on Reaper. That could wait. Alrighty. Go to project templates. Go to my excuse me. My narration setup. We don't want the ambience at all. Take that out. Lower this up to 4 something. 4.4. Same thing over here. Oh, that's 6. There we go. Be good. That's that. We're good to go. Okay, from what I'm seeing, it's not picking up the music. So, as long as you all could hear it, that'd be fine. That's some music from Suno. I know some narrators, they do not like using AI. They abhor it. I understand it. Hey, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'll respect it. But I'm gonna use whatever's on my disposal. I could create some music over here with AI that won't be copyright strike. I use that. And if it makes the story be better, I'll use that too. Well, let's go ahead and start recording. If anybody wants to chat, go ahead. I believe I'm gonna be able to see it. Thing is, I won't be able to reply on it right away. At least on the chat. I'll be able to reply on the by word of mouth, but not on the chat. Alrighty. Press record. We're gonna give it a couple. We're gonna give it a silence in a bit, just for a bit. So. Alrighty. Let's get the show started. Any mistakes? Any mistakes? Everybody will be able to hear it live. and then I will have to do the tedious work of erasing it later. That's how it goes. Hmm, great. Another bot. Let's start the story. Oh, goodness. Hey there, Outlaw. Welcome back. I see that you picked the newest creepypasta jump. This one is gonna be a series, and I hope that you join me for the newest release. When they come out, you know, it's gonna be random. The supplier is quite hard to catch. So, tell you what, I'll read that story for you. I was an exorcist in training. What we encountered was no ordinary demon. Written by Scary Max. Narrated by Gamma Akutabi. With and around this part, we add the whoever wants to join me on this narration, if I get a hold of them. So let's pretend that I'm doing this solo, and over time, if somebody joins me, if somebody's more than willing to lend me a hand for this story, I'll be adding their lines. More tedious work. Woohoo. Lovely. I really cherish my friends. The ones that listen to me, the ones that want to help me, and I also cherish you, the viewer. That's why I keep doing this for you, the viewer, my kid, and my friends. That's how things go. Oh, back to the story. There's no official record of the exorcism we performed at 1237 Palmer Avenue in Los Angeles last November. The church encouraged us not to speak to the press about such things anyway, as our work tends to be sensationalized. In truth, most cases we investigated aren't possession at all, just ordinary, tragic mental health issues wearing the trappings of just ordinary, just ordinary, tragic mental health issues wearing the trappings of religion. I was still only a year into my apprenticeship back then. Up to that point, even in the few instances when I witnessed a genuine possession, the process of exorcism was far more mundane than the movies would have been. The process of exorcism was. Mhm. The process of exorcism was more mundane than the movies will have you believe. My mentor, Father Anthony, will simply follow the protocols as outlined by the Holy See, sprinkling with holy water, laying of hands, and a sufflation, along with the recitation of the prescribed prayer. Along with the recitation of the prescribed prayer. Uh, Along with the recitation of prescribed prayers. Only once have I seen the basic prayer fail. It was a case where the entity within, an elderly woman, had been allowed to fester possibly as long as 5 years. The family had spent half a decade ignoring the problem, ascribing it to ordinary dementia, even as her behavior grew worse and worse. We had been called in after she twisted the head of a beloved family cat. all while invoking the names of minor demons she had no business knowing. All while invoking the names of minor demons she had no business knowing. Even then, Father Anthony had been able to remove the demon in less than a week, relying on the prayer to Saint Michael and a silver cross that had once belonged to Pope Leo XIII. Nothing could have prepared either of us for what we found on Palmer Avenue. We were sent there at the behest of Father Felipe, a parish priest, who noticed that Maya Knowles, one of the young women attending his church, had missed several weeks of Sunday Mass. It's unfortunately common for young people to fall out of love with the faith, but it raised a small flag for the Father Felipe, who caught up with her mother, Sharon, one day after Mass to ask her if anything was wrong. Sharon immediately burst into tears, confessing that her previously bright, cheerful Sharon immediately burst into tears, confessing that her previously bright, cheerful daughter had become a recluse overnight, refusing to leave her room. Again, such things happen, but it aroused the Father Felipe's interest, and he paid the family a visit a few days later. What he witnessed, what he witnessed upon entering the girl's room was enough to make him call us immediately. Rather than paraphrase, I only include a transcription of the voicemail he left here. There was a foul smell. It hit you all the way down the hall. Some kind of cocktail of sweet and excrement. It grew more powerful as I approached Maya's room, such that I was hesitant to enter. At the doorway, I hesitated. That's when I heard the awful growling, like an animal's stomach, left empty far too long. Nothing about it sounded the beast like a bit human. I said a prayer and then entered. Girl, I almost hesitate to call her that now. Had been beautiful when I last saw her. So much that she'd been the subject of several confessions from teenage boys in the parish, all unable to take their eyes off her. Adult men, too. Her mother had been pushing her towards a career in modeling, television, something I warned them both about. Pride, the dangers of the pride, the dangers of the pride, the dangers of the superficial. Of course, I'm a priest in L.A. I have so many. Of course, I'm a priest in L.A. I have many such conversations. I would say that May's mother was particularly obsessed with her daughter's career in a way that gave me pause. But I felt that if I confronted her too harshly about the subject, I might push her away from the faith entirely. When I walked into that room, I had to suppress my urge to vomit. May laid in the bed in the center of the dark bedroom. Something is textured uneven and smudged with fingerprints had been rubbed and dried over the windows, blocking out the sunlight. Despite the near dark, I could just make out Maya's skeletal form, her skin clinging like tissues to her bones, exposing every crease. The growling sound was emanating from her stomach and up her throat, the low pitch more like the death throat of some great beast than a teenage girl. There was a scratching sound filling the room through. There was a scratching sound filling the room too. And when I looked closer, I realized there was a weakly moving her arm, grabbing handfuls of dried rice from a 50-pound bag by her side. She moved her hand to her lips, eating the dried rice whole before going back for another handful. Looking around by her bedside, I, s- I- looking around by her bedside, I saw at least 6 or 7 similar bags littered on the floor. Like what you see? She asked me. Of course not. I'm not exactly your type, am I? Of course not. Of course not. I'm not exactly your type, am I? Couldn't get hard for a girl like me if you try. Maybe worth a shot, though. Oh man, this is dark. Now, I really wonder who's gonna be collabing for that line. Ooh, that's great writing. Quite dark. Of course not. I'm not exactly your type, am I? Couldn't get hard for a girl like me if you try. Maybe worth a shot, though. Why don't you come a little closer? Give me a little kiss. I knew in that moment that I was in mortal danger. Behind me, the door began to close on its own accord, and as I reached back to stop it, it slammed shut. I heard the crunch of bones. I heard the crunch of bone as my fingers smashed into the doorframe. I heard the crush of bone as my fingers smashed in the doorframe. The break was bad enough that I could see the white of my bone through the skin, and I was bleeding profusely. Suddenly the girl was up. Without a sound, she moved to the foot of the bed, her legs no thicker than pool cues. Yeah. Oh, whoa, that's really scary right there. Suddenly the girl was up. Without a sound, she moved to her. Suddenly the girl was up. Without a sound, she moved to the foot of the bed, her legs no thicker than pole cues dangling over the side. You smell amazing, father, she said. She stood up. She stood, and her posture was bent, unnatural. One of her knees seemed to bend the opposite way. One of her arms seemed to have broken in so many places that it flapped like a tentacle. With a good hand, I pulled the door open as hard as I could, trying to free my limp fingers and escape before she could reach me. She stepped deliberately. I sensed that she could move faster if she desired, but she enjoyed watching me squirm. Almost without thinking, I began to recite a Hail Mary in the original Latin, something that was always brought me peace. As a word outside my mouth, I could tell that Maya was bothered, even taking a small step back. Shut up, she was muttering. Shut up about that bitch. But I refused to stop, and as I did, I was able to pry the door open, a little at a time. Then all at once, Maya was screaming, commanding me to close my mouth. Suddenly the door flew open, and I stumbled through, shutting it behind me as fast as I could. After that, there was only silence. No one has said a thing from inside the room since then. I have instructed Maya's mother to avoid going inside at all costs. We need help, desperately. A strange look had crossed Father Anthony's face as he heard the message. He went to consult a few old books in his personal library as I listened to the message on repeat, trying to sift through the details. How bad is it? I asked when he turned. How bad is? How bad is it? I asked when he returned. It is what it is, he said. The protocols are clear. We go, we evaluate. 1 second. Need some water. It's gonna be a long one. It is what it is, he said. The protocols are clear. We go, we evaluate. Should it turn out to be a major exorcism, we will use the prayer of to Saint Michael for as long as it takes. Pack your large suitcase. Pack your large suitcase. Maybe a while. Father, I asked, has the prayer ever failed to remove the entity? He shook his head. Demons are cowards by nature. With some luck, within a few weeks, it will flee, just as its brethren has before. Father Anthony and I were different in our faith. Mine was almost like romance, swelling one day and waning the next, ever present but varying vastly depending on my mood. His was steady. His was steady. To Father Anthony, the universe was perfectly ordered, bound by immutable laws. To him, the prayers always work, just as one pool ball colliding with another will perfectly, just as one pool ball colliding with another will predictably transfer its force, so too would his prayers send demons reeling. You look worried, he said, as I played the message again. Don't. It's unseemly for a man of the cloth. Pack your bag. By now, you should know that time is critical. Though he was almost steady as always, I noticed a slight tick as he spoke, like his mouth couldn't stop twitching. Looking down, I saw he was carrying a small pouch of red velvet that I'd never seen before. Just a precaution, he said. Hopefully something we don't need until much further into your training. I never expected to become an exorcist. I never expected to become an exorcist. My family wasn't even Catholic growing up. My parents were hippie types, mercurial in their beliefs. For a while, we attended a Baptist church. Then, just as I finally learned all of the lyrics to the hymns, we moved 2 towns away, where my mom got swept up in the Kabbalah and tried to drag us all into when my, where my mom got swept up in the Kabbalah and tried to drag us all into where my mom got swept up in the Kabbalah and tried to drag us all into it with her. Before I was a teenager, I spent a day or two in a mosque, a Swinomish smokehouse, and a Noctis temple. It was my wife, Sophia, who brought me into the faith. She had grown up in a big Italian American family in New York, and for her Catholicism was the same as family. And for her, Catholicism was the same as family. I converted to marry her. All it took was a few months of classes and a ceremony on Easter. I didn't even ask myself if I believed in God. It was enough to believe in Sophia. She was a true believer, in the best sense of the word, generous to a fault, always exhausting herself trying to keep us all happy. All the years she sewed quilts, using them as Christmas presents or baby shower gifts. Several times she tried to teach me how to sew, but I was hopeless, clumsy. She loved me anyways. Then, one Thanksgiving, after staying up far too late drinking wine and prepping vegetables, she woke up and decided to run to the store for pre-made dinner rolls. It was icy. She wasn't even speeding, but it didn't matter. She skidded into oncoming traffic at the wrong time. She died instantly. After she was gone, none of my usual crushes dulled the pain. Alcohol, throwing myself into work, exercise, it all felt hollow, insufficient to replace Sophia. We held funeral mass shortly after she died, and it was the first time I felt an ounce of peace. The light streaming in from the stained glass window suddenly seemed different to me, as if heaven were actually on the side if I could just step through them. I found myself going to church more often after that, not just on Sundays, but on weekdays too, right after work. I watched the darkening sky through the stained glass as I knelt in one of the back pews, and for a short time, I felt like Sophia wasn't so far away. Eventually, the priest there, Father Ignatius, would gently tell me that it was well past closing time, and I would leave. Until one day he asked me to come with him. I wonder if you consider joining the priesthood, he said. Some withers do. I laughed. I'm barely Catholic, I said. I just joined for her. He shook his head. I don't believe you. The house at 1237 Palmer, the house at 1237 Palmer Avenue was decadent, even by LA standards, set back on a new. Oh, goodness. Not even halfway through. This is quite a good story right here. Love it. Hope everyone is doing well so far. We're at 23 minutes and I'm not halfway through. Hopefully, all the mistakes are easy to take care of. The house at 1237 Palmer Avenue was decadent, even by LA standards, set back on a nearly full acre lot bordered by a taco stucco wall. The house saw the house sour up 3 stories. The house sour. Sour? So, I think it's sour. Set back on a nearly full acre lot bordered by a taco stucco wall, the house soared up 3 stories, all elegant metal and glass. Later, we would learn that the girl's father had paid well over $1 million for the architect alone before construction ever started. As we approached, we noted that we noted that one bedroom where the lights shone brown red through a darker window. Reflexly, we both made the sign of the cross. Refre- reflected, reflexively, reflexively, reflexive, uh, reflect, reflective. As we approached, we noted that one bedroom where the light shone brown red through a darker window. On reflex, we both made the sign of the cross. Sitting on the front steps, we met Father Felipe, who was half asleep, slumped against the rail, though he couldn't have been much older than 30. His skin appeared sallow, his eyes ranged like a cold, distant planet. His hand was wrapped in a thick bandage crusted with blood. Father Anthony, Father Matthew. He reached out, his hand shaking, before breaking down in sobs. I could tell Father Anthony was unsettled at his greeting. You've done your part. You've done your part now, Father Felipe, he said. Should go back to your church. Pray, rest. Father Felipe shook his head. I won't I won't leave until we've seen this through. he said. I made a promise to myself. Father Anthony shook his head. That's merely pride whispering in your ear, he said. Please, go. Father Felipe reached down into his pocket and found a piece of candy. He popped it into his mouth. His breath was rank, and I wonder how long it had been since he had lost. And I wonder how long it had been since he last brushed his teeth. I'll just wait a little longer, he said, just until you've had your chance to go in. I could tell Father Anthony wasn't happy about this, but he was eager to go in and get to work. We brushed we brushed past Father Felipe, who fell back into a ball on the steps, and we walked to the floor. Who fell back into a ball on the steps, and we walked to the door. Father Anthony rang the doorbell once, then waited patiently. After perhaps 15 seconds, he scowled and rang it again. Miss Knowles, he called, but there was no response. Then, finally, he turned the knob as Ugh. No, great time for my nose to start acting up. Be gone, demon! then, then, finally, he turned the knob and we entered. Immediately, the stench hit us both. The house smelled as if the walls around us would burst, sending a flood of excrement down to cover our feet. Father Anthony raised a handkerchief to his nose, passing another to me so that I could do the same. Again, he called for Miss Knowles, but there was no response. Somewhere, somewhere up above, we heard a skittering sound, knocks on the wood, like someone on stilts running through the. Somewhere up above, we heard a skittering sound, knocks on the wood, like someone on stilts running through the hall. Father Anthony fumbled in his pocket, removing his silver cross. He began to wave it in. He began to wave it ever so slightly back and forth, like a hypnotist pendulum, as he recited a Hail Mary. Miss Knowles? I shouted, and the dumping sound stopped. She's in the kitchen, said a voice that made my heart nearly stop. Whoa, I need to make. It was deep and resonant, and seemed to speak from all around us. Okay, I gotta redo that line that she's in the kitchen. Oh, excuse me. She's in the kitchen, said a voice that made my heart nearly stop. It was deep and resonant and seemed to speak from all around us. Father Anthony gestured for me to go to the kitchen. You find the mother, and I'll go up to talk to the girl, he said. He had removed the red velvet bag from his pocket and was loosening its drawstrings. Maybe we should call for assistance, I said, but he shook his head. If we follow the rites, we will prevail. Remember, God is on our side. Go find the mother and get her out of the house. Hurry. Without another word, he headed up the stairs. I walked down the hall. Without another word, he headed up the stairs. I walked down the hall towards the kitchen, almost running. Then as I reached the archway separating the rooms, I stopped and vomited, barely able to comprehend what I was seeing. There, in the kitchen, lay Miss Knowles, or rather what was left of her. In the center of the room lay a pile of bloody broken bones, all stacked in a messy pile on top with a broken skull matting blonde hair. Most of her, the flesh, the organs, the brains and muscle, the fat, was all gone. Time may have passed, I can't be sure. My vision seemed to go black and then red. Strangely, I found myself oddly hung. Time may have passed, I can't be sure. My visions. Time may have passed, I can't be sure. My vision seemed to go black and then red. Strangely, I found myself oddly hungry. So much so that I nearly opened the refrigerator to look for something to eat. Then I heard a scream from upstairs, and my senses came back to me. I ran through the hall and I ran through the hall and the up I ran through the hall and then up the staircase, 2 steps at a time. It was clearly Father Anthony screaming, his cries mixed with the prayer to Saint Michael. Die, Dawson! Die, Dawson! Die, Dawson, Dawson. Oh my goodness. Die, Dawson, Dawson hosts are spread, and battle o'er the azure sky. But Michael bears thy standard dread, and lift the my cross on high. The prayer was punctuated with repeated shrieks, both from him and someone else. I ran down the hallway towards Maya's. I ran down the hallway towards Maya's room, the rank smell growing so thick it seemed to thicken the very air. In the room, I found them. They were coiled together, like two pythons both trying to strangle the other. Blood was everywhere, flowing freely from wounds on both of their bodies. Somehow, in the new minutes since we parted ways, Anthony had managed to lose both legs and his left arm, all bitten down to the nubs. Another long gash had opened his belly, and his guts were hanging out of him. With his one good arm, he was holding something gleaming up to Maya. With his one good arm, he was holding something gleaming up to Maya's face. Though, through the hazy air and the blood, it took me a few seconds to recognize it as a needle and silver thread. Somehow, he had managed to apply 3 or 4 stitches across the girl's mouth, sealing it almost shut. Now, even as he tried to apply a 4th stitch, she bit at his fingers and the side of her mouth. severing the pinky, and showing it with obvious joy. Father Michael cried out, but continued the prayer. In that sign, the rebel powers did with their dragon princess spell, and herded them from the heavens high tower, down like a thunderbolt to hell. Every part of me wanted to run. I'm being honest. I wanted to tear off my collar and robes from my body and sprint into the LA night, never looking back. But something in me refused. Instead, I sprang forward, taking the shaking needle from Father Anthony's shaking finger. I did everything right, he said weakly, and then the light in his eyes went out. Maya turned her attention to me now, trying to bite me, shouting curses. Sorry about that. Okay, we're more than halfway through at the moment. That's 38 minutes. Run, run. Ah, darn it. Run, 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 little assistant. Gotta do it with a female voice or get a girl. Most likely, I'm gonna try to get me a female narrator if they could do this. At least her voice. Run, 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 little assistants. You're in over your head. I stare at the silver thread dangling from her mouth. I never even heard of such a thing. There were rules, protocols that I never even heard of, that I wasn't ready for. The girl smiled, pulling at the thread, beginning to unravel Father Anthony's careful work. The girl smiled, pulling at the thread, beginning to unravel Father Anthony's careful work. I saw now that she would open her mouth wide and eat me down to the very bone. Yet I would scream while she chewed up my lungs and heart. Indeed, she was reaching for Anthony's guts now, slurping his intestines through the small hole still left on the side of her mouth. Except that I wasn't seeing any of that now. I was in a quiet room with Sophia, sitting side by side. On our laps was a quilt. She was smiling, light catching the strands of her light brown hair. I can do it, I was saying, fumbling with the needle. Of course you can, she said. It's not science. It's just in and out, in and out. We know you're good at that. I blush, the needle slipping out from between my fingers. Just relax, she said. Here, let me guide you. She put her hand on mine, her flesh warm and soft. Slowly, she guided my fingers down through the soft white fabric. Then suddenly I was back. I watched my fingers slip the silver thread through Maya's lips. Only a crack at the side of her mouth remained exposed. You're different than them, she said. Her words more muffled now, and it almost sounded like a normal girl's voice. You carry someone with you. Who? I used a moment of surprise to apply the final stitch, blood pulling around the thread as I cinched it. Blood pulling around the thread as I cinched it shut, silencing her forever. As soon as it was done, she fell back in the bed, her eyes closing as sleep took over. Her eyes closing as sleep took her. After a while, after I got my thoughts together, I called Father Anthony Superior at the Vatican. I called Father Anthony Superior at the Vatican to explain what had happened. I tried to stay calm, to explain things as accurately as possible, but I'm sure my voice was shaking. Around me, the worst of the stench was gone, though ordinary one's blood, bile, persisted. Still, the air was that much cleaner than. Still, the air was that much cleaner than before, and I found that I was able to breathe. I expected him to doubt my story, but he just listened without saying anything. Then, finally, as I reached the end of what I had to say, he spoke. So you were able to apply the stitches yourself? Just the last couple. Father Anthony did most of the work. He paused for a moment. Did you had any other outside help? I thought about that for a second. About Sophia. Maybe. You did well, he said. We will send people for both you and the girl. They will bring you back here. To the Vatican? Is that the protocol? There was a brief pause. Father Anthony was a firm believer in protocol. Father Anthony was a firm believer in protocol. Are you? Oh. Father Anthony was a firm believer in protocol. Are you? No, I said after a moment. Good, he said. Then we will have much to discuss when you arrive. And that's the end of the story, Outlaw. This was amazing, and the whole series is finished. The author gave me his blessing a while back, and there's another series of this same done by the same author that I've been doing as well, and I need to continue doing it. It's a favorite, but it's it's got so many voices that I either gotta improvise or find a way to recreate them somehow, or even or even try to get some outside help with them. Way too many voices. This, from what I'm seeing, I might need, if anything at all, maybe three or four. Yeah, three or four voices, or leaning more towards three. But yeah, it was amazing. This religious thing going on, outside help. It almost seems like a good movie. Not the crap that you see nowadays on theaters, but a really old movie, like the like the movies with Christopher Walken, The Prophecy. Yeah, 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 that one. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting out of this. It might differ with the new when I narrate the rest, but so far that's the vibe that I'm getting, and I love it. Well, go ahead and make sure to click on the link of the story if you want to read it by yourself for yourself, just for yourself, not to narrate it, of course, or check out the author. Um, I believe he got a link. He may have his own YouTube channel as well. So I'll be sure to send you his way. Just let him know like, hey, Gamma narrated one of your stories that I dig, and he sent me your way. I'm sure he'll be happy with that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening to the story. Make sure to leave a like, a comment, and with the new YouTube thing, give me a hype because I am the hype. Hype, 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 hype. And yeah, but most importantly, if I earn it, subscribe. What are you waiting for? And like always, I see y'all on the wasteland. Right, and now we hit stop. I need to rename this to today's date. 9/29. I want some exercises in training. What we encounter by what we encounter was no ordinary human by scary max. Right. Save. Save all. And we got it. Yeah, a good 40 something. So if I play it right, it might be about 30-ish minutes. I'll be sure to add some music to it. For sure on your end, based on what I'm seeing, you have been listening to one of the songs on loop. I just didn't want to keep things boring for you. All right. And with that, I believe that's an hour. Yeah, that should be roughly an hour. I could either stay here and chat with y'all, but I am not gonna gamble on doing another story. I may not have enough time to narrate another story. Well, once again, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate you all stopping by or even watching this on the future. It's okay with me either way. Okay? Y'all take care. Thank you for staying subscribed or even subscribing. Oh, yeah, I'm recording this too. Whoa! So, yeah, I get to upload it for all all of you that happen to miss the live stream. Yeah. Okay. Y'all take care. And I hope